Hello students, I trust you've been enjoying the class so far. Please, it will mean a lot to us if you could hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you'll be the first to be notified when we have a new content. Also like, share and leave a comment. Thank you. Number 41 now. The use of a lighter instead of matchsticks is a way of conserving dash. Now if you look at this, it's a way of conserving the forest because we know that sticks are made from wood and wood are gotten from the forest. So when we make use of a lighter instead of a stick, we are going to have less need to fell trees and then we'll be able to conserve the forest. So the correct answer here is B, that's the forest, number 42. An accident victim was successfully transfused with blood from the father, whose blood group is AB. The blood group of the accident victim is dash. That's definitely AB. Because we know AB, even though AB is a universal recipient, what that means is a person with blood group AB can receive blood from every other blood group. A person with blood group AB can receive blood from A, can receive blood from B, can receive blood from AB, and can receive blood from O. But a person with blood group AB can only donate to another individual with blood group AB. So if an accident victim receives blood from his father, his or her father, whose blood group is AB, it therefore implies that the blood group of that particular accident victim would have been AB, because blood group AB can only donate to another person. A person with blood group AB, the father in this case, can only donate to another person whose blood group is AB. The correct answer is C here, number 43. Which of the following traits in human is an example of physiological variation? Don't forget, physiological variation is also called discontinuous variation, and among these options, the correct answer is C, tongue rolling. Ability to roll the tongue is also called tongue rolling. Ability to roll the tongue is an example of physiological variation. Other examples of physiological variation apart from tongue rolling or ability to roll the tongue is ability to taste PTC. PTC is an acronym that stands for phenylthiocarbamide. Phenylthiocarbamide is bitter in solution. Some people are able to detect the bitter taste, which means they are tasters, while others will not be able to detect the bitter taste. Another example of physiological variation is blood grouping. Different blood group is also an example of physiological variation. Another example of physiological variation is left-handedness. So the correct answer here is C. Tongue rolling is an example of physiological variation. The skin color, fingerprint, and height, they are all examples of morphological or continuous variation. Number 44. Individuals belonging to the blood group O are universal donors because if you look at all the options, the correct answer there is A. Antigens are absent in their blood cells. Now, any individual that belongs to blood group O is called a universal donor. What does that mean? A person with blood group O can donate to every other blood group. A person with blood group O can donate to A, can donate to B, can donate to AB, can donate to O. And what makes them to be able to do that? Because people with blood group O do not have antigens. They neither have antigen A nor antigen B in their blood group. And the good thing about it is for clumping or agglutination to occur, there must be reaction. There must be reaction between antigens and antibody. And because people with blood group O do not have any antigen at all, so it doesn't matter the kind of antibody that is present in the recipient's blood, agglutination or clumping will not occur. Definitely the correct answer here is A. Antigens are absent in their blood group. Number 45. Two tall plants were crossed and all the F1 plants were tall. When the F1 plants were served, the meaning of served is when they were crossed together, some of the F2 plants were tall while others were short. what are the possible genotypes of the original plant? Let's take it one step at a time. We are told that two tall plants were crossed. Now, when you talk about tall plants, a plant can be tall, that's the phenotype, but a tall plant could be homozygous for tallness or heterozygous for tallness. We don't know that. So two tall plants were crossed and all the F1 plants were all tall. Are they all homozygous tall or are they all heterozygous tall? We are going to find that out. When the F1 plant were served, some of the F2 plants were tall while others were short. What are the possible genotypes of the original plant? The correct answer here will definitely be option D. How do we know that? So let's see how we can find out that the correct answer is D here. Let's take a look at the board. TT, that's homozygous for tallness, and then T, that's heterozygous for tallness. Now, if you cross them, we have TT, that's homozygous for tallness. We have TT, that's homozygous, that's heterozygous rather, for tallness. We have TT, homozygous for tallness, and then we have TT, that's heterozygous for tallness. So we can see these, the four of them, 1, 2, 3, 4. All the four offspring here in the first filial generation, in the F1 generation, all of them were tall. They conform to what we are told in the question. And the question goes on by telling us that when these offsprings were now served, that is, they were now crossed again, some of them were tall while some were short. Then we are now asked to find what the genotype of the original parents are. Now, if you take this and this, TT, and you cross it with TT, by the time we do the crossing, this is tall homozygous, this is tall heterozygous, this is tall heterozygous, and this is short homozygous. So that explains what we are told here. When they were served, some of the F2, that's the F2 that we've just done here, some of them were tall. We can see that this is tall, this is tall, this is tall, and some were short. We can see TT, the small letter TT here, that represents shortness because that particular small letter T is recessive, that is for shortness, while capital letter T is dominant, that is for tallness. So the correct answer here is definitely T. So the genotypes of the original parents. Don't forget, these are the original parents. This is homozygous for tallness and this is heterozygous for tallness. So the correct answer here is D. Number 46. Which of the following statements best describes a test cross? It is, now if you look at the options, A, to determine the genotype of an individual whose phenotype is known. Absolutely, that's the correct answer. As a matter of fact, a test cross is carried out to determine the genotype of a dominant organism. Now, when an organism is dominant, it means we know the phenotype. Maybe an organism is tall. That organism can be tall and have the genotype TT, that's homozygous for tallness. That organism can be tall and have the genotype T and small letter t, that is heterozygous for tallness. But when we carry out a test cross, we want to determine what is the genetic makeup, that is the meaning of genotype, of that particular individual, since the phenotype, the appearance, the outward appearance is known. So if an organism is tall, we can use the test cross to determine, is that particular organism, is it homozygous tall, that's the genotype, or is it heterozygous tall? So the correct answer is definitely A here. A test cross is used to determine the genotype or genetic makeup of an individual whose phenotype is known. Number 47. Which of the following statements about sex-linked traits is not correct? Option A. Males inherit sex-linked traits from their fathers. That is incorrect because we know, first things first, what is a sex-linked trait? Sex-linked traits are those traits that are carried on the X chromosome. We know we have two types of chromosome, the X chromosome and the Y chromosome. So those traits that are carried on the X chromosome are called sex-linked traits. And sex-linked traits or sex-linked characters are usually transferred in three ways. Sex-linked traits can be transferred from mother to son. Sex-linked traits can be transferred directly from mother to the daughter. Sex-linked traits can be transferred directly from the father to the daughter. But sex-linked trait can never be directly transferred from the father to the son. So, according to the question here, which of the following statements about sex-linked trait is not correct? Males cannot inherit sex-linked trait from their father. No. So, the correct answer here is A. This option A here, this statement is not correct about sex-linked traits. Males actually inherit their sex-linked trait from their mothers, never from their father. The correct answer is A. Okay, so number 48 says, when two carriers of sickle cell anemia produce an offspring, the probability of the offspring being a sickler is, let's take a look at finding out how to solve this. When two carriers of a sickle cell anemia, carriers means both of them are AS. AS. Because even though they are having the S here, that is having a sickle cell shaped red blood cell, the fact that they're having just one copy of the trait means that they are only carrier, not sicklers. So if we cross this, we have AA here, that's perfectly normal. AS, a carrier, not a sickler. AS, also carrier, not a sickler. And here, SS, this is the sickler we are talking about here. So how many offsprings are produced now? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many of them are sickler? Just one. That's one. That's going to be 1 all over 1, 2, 3, 4. So the probability of an offspring being a sickler when two carriers are actually crossed is 1 all over 4. So the correct option there is B, number 49. Which of the organisms exhibit adaptive coloration? What do you mean by adaptive coloration? There are some organisms that are able to change the color on them to blend with their environment so as to remain unnoticeable or to be able to escape from their predators. An example, a very good example of such an organism is a chameleon. A chameleon can change its skin to blend with that of its environment, and that is what referred to as adaptive coloration. The correct answer here is B, chameleon, number 50. Which of the following sequences is the correct evolutionary trend in organisms? If you look at all the 4 trends, we will see the correct answer here is A, an algae to liverwort, liverwort to ferns, and fern to angiosperm. We know that algae belong to the phylum Talophyta. Algae and fungi belong to the phylum Talophyta. We know that moss and liverwort belong to the phylum Bryophyta. And we know that fern belong to the phylum Pteridophyta. And angiosperms are actually flowering plants. So it is from algae, a talophyte to a bryophyte, a biophyte to a pteridophyte to a gymnosperm, and then gymnosperm to angiosperm. So the correct answer here is definitely A, option A, number 51. Hello students, I trust you've been enjoying the class so far. Please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you'll be the first to know whenever we upload a new content. Also, don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment. Thank you. Now, let's go to number 51. Which of the following organelles is common to both plant and animal cells? If you look at the 4 organelles, we can see that the only one that is common to both plant and animal cell is option C, cell membrane. If you look at option A, cellulose cell wall is only found in plant cell. It is absent in animal cell. If you look at option B, the same thing happens. Chlorophyll is only present in plant cell, it is absent in animal cell. If you look at option D, even though both plant cell and animal cell have vacuole, we do know that large vacuole is present in plant cell. The vacuole in plant cell is way more larger than the one that is present in animal cell. So the correct answer here is option C. Cell membrane is common in both plant and animal cells. Number 52. The diagram below are illustrations of different sections of a particular fruit. We have to study them and use them to answer questions 52 and 53. So let's take a look at number 52. Number 52. The sections X and Y respectively are, let's go back to the, okay, so this X. As you can see here, whenever a fruit or substance is cut from left to right like this is a transverse section. Whereas if it is cut longitudinal, that is from top to bottom, that is longitudinal. So X here is the transverse section, Y here is the longitudinal section. So let's look at option 50. Let's look at number 52 to see which option is correct. Option B. Transverse section, that's for X, and longitudinal section, that's for Y. Number 53. The fruit that has the illustrated section is, let's take a look at the fruit again. Now, if you look at the fruit here, it does resemble that of an orange, doesn't it? Or a lemon. And we know both orange and lemon belong to the class of fruits that are categorized as Hesperidium. So let's take a look at number 53 to see which option contains Hesperidium. There it is. Option A, Hesperidium. That's the correct answer. Number 54. The diagram below, that's referring to this diagram, is an illustration of a fungus. We have to study it and use it to answer questions 54 to 56. So let's look at what 54 question says. It says the structure label 1 is associated with, let's take a look at the structure and see what the structure label 1 is. So if you look at, this is the part label 1 here, that is the sporangium. And we know that sporangium houses the spores. And we know that spores are concerned with asexual reproduction. So let's look at number 54 to see which option contains asexual reproduction. There it is. That's option B, asexual reproduction. Don't forget that fungus reproduces both sexually and asexually, but it reproduces asexually by sporulation. Even from the word sporulation, from spore production. So that's the correct answer, option B. Number 55. The structure label 2 is the dash. Let's take a look at the diagram again to see what the structure label 2. So if you see the structure label 2 here, it's talking about the columella. The columella is a particular arc-like structure that separates the sporangiophore from the sporangium. And by the way, this particular long one here, the one that looks like the long stem here, that is the sporangiophore. The Roman figure 1 here, that is the sporangium. What separates this sporangiophore from this? What separates this Roman figure 2 that separates the sporangiophore here from the sporangium or the spore here? That is the columella. So let's look at number 55 to see which option is columella. That's option C. Option C is the correct answer. Number 56. Which of the following statements about the structure label 3 is correct? Let's take a look at this structure once again to know which one is label 3. You can see Roman figure 3 here. That's talking about the hyphae. And the major function of hyphae is the plural of hypha, H-Y-P-H-A. Now, hypha secretes digestive enzyme in order to break down the substrates into soluble or easily absorbable form. So let's look at the options now in 56 to see which one is correct. Option A, secretes digestive enzymes into the substrate. Absolutely, that's the correct answer. The hypha secretes digestive enzyme into the substrate. And what happens? The substrate is now broken down into solution or easily absorbable form that can easily be absorbed by the fungus. Don't forget that fungi are saprophytic organisms, those organisms that feed on dead, decaying organic matter. Because don't forget that fungi lack chlorophyll. Because of that, they cannot manufacture their own food. Let's go to number 57 rather. The diagram below, that's talking about this diagram, is an illustration of a living organism. We can see this euglena. We are to study it and use it to answer questions 57 and 58. Let's take a look at 57 and see. The level of organization of the organism is, like I've said, we can see from the diagram that is definitely a euglena. And we know that euglena is an example of a unicellular organism. Unicellular organism. So it belongs to the cellular level of organization. So the correct answer here is option B. That is a cell. Let's look at number 58. The organism belongs to the phylum. We know it's euglena, so it belongs to the phylum Euglenophyta. That's the correct answer, option C. Euglena belongs to the phylum Euglenophyta. So that's that. Number 59. A plant cell placed in a solution with a high water potential will. Now, when a plant cell is placed in a solution with higher water potential, what it means in biological term is a plant cell that is placed in a hypotonic solution. That is the meaning of the higher water potential. And remember that the cytoplasm of the plant cell is going to have a solution that is hypertonic compared to the hypotonic solution of the higher water potential here. And what happens? There will be inward movement of water into that particular plant cell. And when that happens, it begins to swell and eventually becomes turgid. So if you look at the options now, option B is the correct answer. It swells. That's the meaning of it enlarges. It will enlarge and it will become turgid. Don't forget, even though it can expand, it will not burst. All right? Because if we are talking about bursting, that is when you are placing something like an animal cell, like a red blood cell and erythrocyte. If erythrocyte is placed in water, in a dilute solution, water will go in, the red blood cell will swell up, and eventually it will burst. We refer to that as hemolysis. But that will not occur in the case of a plant cell. The plant cell will only enlarge and becomes turgid. It won't burst. So the correct answer here is B. Let's go to number 60. Offsprings formed by sexual reproduction exhibit more variation than those formed by asexual reproduction because if you take a look at the options, option A, greater amount of DNA is involved. The amount of DNA involved has no effect on the variation that is exhibited. Let's look at option B. Gametes of parents have different genetic composition. Let's look at option C. Genetic materials come from parents of two different species. That's the correct answer. The genetic materials come from parents of two different species. And sexual reproduction is a lengthy process, not at all. So the correct answer here should be B. Because if you look at from parents of two different species, not at all. Because the parents, the mother and the father, belong to the same species, Homo sapiens. So we can say the genetic material come from parents of two different species, not at all. Both the mother and the father are of the same species, Homo sapiens, that's the species. But the correct answer here is B. The gametes, if you are talking about the gamete, you are talking about the egg or the spermatozoa, we are talking about the egg or the ovum and the sperm cell or the spermatozoon. So the gamete of parents have different genetic composition. The correct answer is B. Hello students, I trust you've been enjoying the class so far. Please, it will mean a lot to us if you could hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you'll be the first to be notified when we have a new content. Also like, share, and leave a comment. Thank you.